live.
Okay. Hello, YouTube, maybe Facebook, I don't know. We're here at Gay USA, ready to go live in about 45 seconds.
And a reminder for those of you who tune in for the Wednesday live telecast, we will be we're doing it on Tuesday next week at 1 o'clock Eastern
That's
time.
true. We have to do it a day early because of things here at Manhattan Neighborhood Network.
To whom we are most grateful for
extremely
carrying our show.
Next week, Tuesday, 1 o'clock, not Wednesday.
I should put a note in the
show note. But meanwhile, today we'll be live in about 3 seconds.
And we have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Welcome to Gay USA. I'm Andy Hum.
I'm Ann Northrup.
And Pride is busted out all over.
Yeah, we have a lot of different stories to tell you about, good and bad. But a really good story from Florida is that a federal judge has permanently blocked Florida's ban on trans health care.
But a federal judge in Texas is blocking Biden's ban on anti-LGBTQ discrimination in schools.
All of these, of course, will go through many different levels of courts. And the Republicans in New Jersey, in their primary, have nominated an out gay U.S. Senate nominee over Trump's pick.
A trans teen in Minnesota was brutally beaten in the high school restroom.
And of course, we will get to Mrs. Samuel Alito, who wants to fight pride flags with shame flags.
She is a piece of work.
Yeah.
As is the Colorado GOP chair, who calls us degenerates and demands the burning of all pride flags.
And you might have thought the Nassau County executive was defeated when he couldn't ban trans girls and women from sports in the county, but no, he's gone to the legislature to push a bill to ban them from sports at county facilities.
And as we tape today, it is the 9th anniversary of the Pulse Massacre in Orlando.
Terrible. An HIV-positive gay man caught in a grinder sting in Qatar has been sentenced.
The out-gay star of Doctor Who and Kuti Gatwa gives the doctor his first gay scene with Jonathan Groff.
We have pictures. And we also have pictures, warning, of a new sexually transmitted fungal ringworm to watch out for.
It's not sexy.
No.
And congratulations to our own Chris Cooper, winner of the Emmy Award for his Nat Geo series, Extraordinary Birder. And I think we should start with that.
Totally. So just a second, let me set this up. He won, this is the Daytime Emmys. He won for Daytime Personality, non-daily, because his show was not a daily show. It was a limited weekly show, as part of the Creative Arts and Lifestyle Emmys. So here is Chris accepting the Emmy.
This is an unexpected journey from being a closeted queer kid in the 1970s and a Black kid in the almost totally then all-white field of birding. Which makes this all the more thrilling. And I just have to say the world has changed happily, and no matter what anybody says or does, we are not going back. We will only move forward together. I have lots of people to thank. I'll be quick. I have to thank the Academy. At National Geographic, I have to thank Pam Caragol and Janet Vissering, who took a chance on an unknown guy. At Lucky 8, I have to thank their whole crew, but especially Irfan Rahman and the magnificent Kim Woodard. And I also have to thank the amazing crew who made me look good, whether that's Jenna or Jelani or Ryan, everybody, but especially John Kroll and my brother from another mother, Doug Veith. And most of all, I have to thank my bedrock through all the seismic changes in the last couple of years, my partner, John Zaya. I would be remiss if I didn't end with 2 acknowledgments. The first is my fellow nominees in this category for their exceptional work, because I watched all of it and it is exceptional. And the other acknowledgement is the birds, because this journey has been made on their wings and they will lift you up every time and bring you joy. So here's to feathered joy for all of us.
That guy has such a positive spirit. We should get him in here to co-host Gay USA.
Well, strangely enough, he will be here on July 3rd, sitting in for me, so we can all slobber all over him on July 3rd.
It's an extraordinary, he's called Extraordinary Birder. It is an extraordinary journey.
It certainly is, from Central Park to the world. He also was a presenter at the Emmys. He presented 3 awards with his co-presenter, what he described to me as a gorgeous young woman from Days of Our Lives. It was the day, or maybe it was General Hospital, or maybe both. Anyway, he presented. We don't have that tape, but congratulations, Chris. Well deserved and just thrilling to see you up there.
We're proud of
doing
you.
that.
It's Pride Month, and we're proud of you. And they're showing a lot of pride at Rockefeller Center. They replaced the flags of all nations with the international symbol of LGBTQ pride, the rainbow flag. Oh, there they are.
And they go all the way around the sometimes skating rink, but we chose the picture with them above the Atlas. It is an Atlas statue, isn't it? In front of the building. And Prometheus, thank you. Atlas is on Fifth Avenue.
And modeled on Mussolini, if you must know.
Well, I'm just glad to be
Take a look
corrected.
at that face.
I wouldn't want to have to to do a correction next week.
Well,
so
and speaking of corrections, this is, Pride Week. Pride Month. We talk about the first Pride parades, but, of course, we had one in New York, LA, all these places. But the first one was the day before they had it in New York, was in Chicago. So that was June 27th, 1970.
Congratulations,
Thank you to our viewer who was getting a little irritated with us for not, and also it's the 100th anniversary of the Society for Individual Rights, which was the first registered organization that dealt with gay rights, and that was founded in Chicago.
Okay. And things are continuing to grow. Santa Rosa, California had its biggest ever Sonoma County Pride. They're looking pretty great right there. So congratulations to them.
And I was down at the Stonewall itself, where the outlawed mayor of Belfast,
Ireland.
Yes, Mickey Murray, in office for just
Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland. In office for just 3 days, made this his first official engagement. He was hosted by former city councilman Danny Drum, who is now the CEO of the St. Patrick's Day Parade on Fifth Avenue. And it was attended by our state comptroller, Tom DiNapoli, and 2 past Irish American council speakers, Chris Quinn and Corey Johnson.
Wow, it hadn't occurred to me that there was a whole line of city council speakers.
Irish.
Yeah, exactly. And we're also celebrating this month the election of the new Miss Maryland USA, trans woman Bailey Ann Kennedy, 31 years old, Asian American, married to a military man. And she will be competing in the big Miss USA pageant in LA on August 4th.
I knew it was going to mean a lot to all the LGBTQ kids out there who might feel they don't belong, like me, growing up.
And then,
by the way, how do you be Miss Maryland and you're married?
That's an excellent question.
Anyway,
things are changing in those pageants.
They are.
I personally was just gobsmacked to see Randy Wicker giving a commencement address at NYU.
Now, Randy Wicker he's really the oldest living activist, essentially. Correct me out there if you've got somebody else you want to cite, but he started in the late 1950s doing this. He organized the first gay demonstration anywhere in 1964 at the Selective Service System in New York, for the military. So, and there he was giving this speech, which we will link to in our email.
He had Marcia Johnson come live with him in his apartment in New Jersey when she needed a place to stay. And he's still out and about and doing things and giving a commencement speech.
Staying in New York for a second, they passed a bill to rename the Christopher Street subway stop Christopher Street Stonewall National Monument. The Stonewall Monument Visitor Center, run by Pride Life, not the Park Service, is set to open later this month and backed by lots of corporate sponsors such as Google and Chase.
Well, someone told me they got a preview and there was a thing on Edie Windsor, but it kept flipping to a Chase logo. I thought, really? All right. In New Jersey, we've even though we know who the presidential nominees are going to be, states keep holding primary elections to nominate people to run for, to confirm the presidential nominees, but also to nominate people for Senate seats or congressional seats. So New Jersey just held a primary, nominated Andy Kim, congressman for the Senate seat, currently held by the much reviled Bob Menendez, who's going to run as an independent, evidently.
If he is not convicted, which could queer the chances for Andy Kim.
It could. But meanwhile, the Republicans have surprised everyone by rejecting Trump's favorite and instead nominating this guy, Curtis Bashaw, who is an out gay, pro-choice Republican.
Yeah, he's a hotel developer. And let's see, he's been with his husband for 20 years, but he did endorse Trump for president in April.
Yes.
Kim, on the other hand, has a perfect 100% score from HRC. I'm not clear where Curtis Bashaw stands on LGBTQ rights.
I think he's for them, but probably, well, I don't know. I won't guess. Instead, we'll go to Nassau County on Long Island, where our favorite county executive, Bruce Blakeman, refuses to give up his crusade against protecting girls and women.
This is, of course, a solution they're seeking without a problem. No one has complained. There's been, it's all that. It's so disgusting. It's just piling on.
Well, it's just exploitation and scapegoating for electoral victory.
It goes before the legislature in Nassau County on the 24th at 1:00, and it's going to pass.
Well, this is a bill to prevent trans girls and women from participating in sports on county land or facilities.
County sports facilities.
Now, he issued an executive order. It got shot down because the state has a law against discrimination against trans people. And he's going to lose, even if they pass this bill, that's going to be shot down for the same reason.
Oh, they said you need legislation. Not from you, from the state. Should we go back to should we talk about the court decisions before we move on? I mean, the big national news?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, the U.S. District Court Judge Robert Hinkle called out Florida's Agency for Healthcare Administration for its blatant defiance of his order invalidating the 2022 ruling banning Medicaid coverage for gender-affirming medical care for Florida's transgender Medicaid beneficiaries. He ruled that gender identity is real, and Florida banned widely accepted standards of care.
And he said that they were clearly based on animus to trans people, not any evidence that there was any harm in this care, and that parents and doctors and the patients themselves should have the right to make these decisions, not the state that's trying to score political points by DeSantis, like Bruce Blakeman in Nassau County. So he had issued an earlier ruling on behalf of the plaintiffs who had sued, just a few parents and kids, And now this is expanded statewide. And it didn't cover surgery, not that there's a lot of surgery for minors anyway.
Hardly any.
Yeah, but he said you cannot prevent minors from getting care for transitioning. You can regulate it to make sure that it is appropriate, and no one's, doing scammy kinds of things, but you cannot outlaw it. And the same is true because they have provisions to prevent it for adults too.
Yes.
And he has outlawed that. Now here's why this is going to take forever. It's a brilliant, wonderful decision. Hinkle is a Bill Clinton appointee. He's a senior judge, meaning he's been there a long time. He's had some great previous decisions. But this happened in Alabama, too, where the state passed a bad law. A court overturned the law, but then the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in favor of the state and reinstated the law. Well, this is going to be appealed to the 11th Circuit, too. Now, they say that laws may be different enough that we'll get different decisions there, but this is all going to end up going to the Supreme Court. Ultimately. Yikes. Extremely yikes.
And in Texas, the notoriously anti-LGBTQ judge Reed O'Connor sided with the wicked attorney general there, Ken Paxton, and blocked Biden's ban on anti-LGBTQ discrimination in schools. He said the U.S. Department of Education has no such power over Texas schools. A federal judge in Tennessee in 2022 blocked the guidance in 20 Republican-led states. So the Biden administration is appealing that ruling. And, Biden cited the Bostock decision. O'Connor says that doesn't apply here.
That was about employment. This is about education.
Right.
You can't extrapolate, even if the issues are exactly the same.
But this does not affect the education departments applying Title IX to LGBTQ students. Red states are challenging those formal binding regulations.
Look, this is all an ongoing, complicated fight. And it's really about one side wanting to give people respect and freedom, and the other side trying to shut everybody down and create a homogenous society where most people are forbidden to exist.
And think about how much things have changed. I know you're not fond of these polls, but I'm struck by the nationwide LA Times poll that says how much things have changed since 1985, when 72% of Americans said homosexual acts between consenting adults were always wrong. Today, 28%. 1985, 64% said they'd be upset if a child was gay. Now it's down to 14%.
Well, as Chris Cooper says, things have changed, and no matter what these fights are, we're not going back.
And, so many support, employment protections, but we don't have them nationwide.
No, we don't, and that's still shocking. We only have statewide protections in 22 states?
Yeah, I'll link to a story on all this, but about this poll, because it's a rather elaborate poll, and of course the numbers are worse for transgender acceptance, but that's because of these relentless campaigns against them.
And this fight is going back and forth even in Colorado, which is considered a pretty solidly liberal state these days in many ways. Well, not with Lauren Boebert, but we're hoping to get rid of her.
Gay governor.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But there's a gay congressional candidate, Vladimir Archuleta. He's an out gay Republican. He is shocked at the homophobia of his party in Colorado. He rejected their endorsement, slammed their hateful comments, and is pleading for unity.
Well, that's what he's saying now. But this started out with the chair of the party, Dave Williams, who was also running for Congress. He sent out a Pride Month email calling LGBTQ people godless groomers and issued a call to burn all pride flags. He was any other epithets. And it was too much for a lot of Republican officials.
Including Archuleta.
Well, not originally. Because when they first approached him about this, Archuleta said, "Oh, I don't think Dave is homophobic. What he said in his email was but he is a person I don't believe is. He's trying to just get a reaction. So he wasn't really prepared.
Well, then
for
he
all
read
this.
the polls.
Well, because Republican officials in all 64 counties are now calling for his removal. But
Williams.
yes,
Yeah.
Williams, not
Yeah.
the gay guy.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is our cue to go to Martha Ann Alito.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. So we have this new controversy where a reporter went undercover at a right-wing event that had several Supreme Court justices there.
Let's give her credit. Lauren Windsor is her name.
Does she work for Politico?
No,
Or is it ProPublica?
No, I don't know, but she does this and she's good at it.
Yeah. So she goes up to Supreme Court justices and says, "Oh, I love you so much. And don't you think the world is going to hell?"
Our Christian nation.
And John Roberts said, "Well, no, really not.
We're not a Christian nation," he said. My Muslim friends would disagree.
But here's what the wife of Samuel Alito, Martha Ann Alito, had to say.
I want a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag because I have to look across the lagoon at the Pride flag for the next month. Exactly. And he's like, "Oh, please don't put up a flag." I said, "I won't do it because I'm deferring to you. But when you are free of this nonsense, I'm putting it up and I'm going to send them a message every day. Maybe every week I'll be changing the flags. There'll be all kinds. I made a flag in my head. This is how I satisfy myself. I made a flag. It's white and it's yellow and orange flames around it. And in the middle is the word Vergogna. Vergogna in Italian means shame."
Shame, bring back shame.
Wait, I want to know if this is a hint that he's going to resign soon when she says, "When you're done with this nonsense," meaning off the Supreme Court.
If Trump gets elected, then he can resign. That's what she's counting on.
I see. Well, don't count your chickens.
But when you're
Martha
74, you can't count on,
please
eternal life. No,
don't talk like that.
No, I'm just saying, it can happen to us anytime. And
well, this all started because Alito said in his dissent in the Obergefell decision, the marriage decision, that he was against legalizing same-sex marriage because anybody who was against it would be called a bigot.
right.
Well, now we know he was talking about his wife.
And himself.
And himself. It was most ridiculous dissent, just disgusting. But that's
Well, he wants to
are.
return our country to godliness. He agreed with that statement.
His God.
Yeah, of course.
His
It's all
God.
whose ox is gored.
Yeah.
It's
Well, meanwhile, Doug Emhoff, the first gentleman, husband of Kamala Harris, vice president, showed up at D.C. Pride and marched the route with HRC's executive director or CEO, Kelly Robinson. They looked like they were happy together.
Jill Biden was busy this week.
And there are rumors about Trump's VP picks, of course, and one of the supposed leading candidates at the moment is the North Dakota governor, Doug Burgum, who sort of fits his profile of a good-looking guy, a central casting.
He has a lot of his own money. That's part of the reason, too.
He's a very successful, rich guy, but he is increasingly anti-LGBTQ. And North Dakota had the most bad anti-LGBTQ bills last year.
Weren't we supposed to go out there and take over that state a couple of decades ago?
Look, there are 750,000 people there. There's no reason why we couldn't populate it more than that and take over.
Right.
Meanwhile, Texas and Montana are suing the Biden administration to stop the rule. Was this part of your earlier thing?
No.
Requiring Medicaid to provide trans care coverage.
Yes.
So
That's new. That's new.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's show them the gay wrestler.
Okay. This is wait for it. This
Harley
is
Cameron.
No, Anthony Bowers is the wrestler.
who's
Maybe Harley is the interviewer.
Okay, maybe.
Right.
Sorry.
Wrestler Anthony Bowers. But
did you just say that you think I'm into you?
Duh.
Very, very serious question. Did you get kicked too many times in the head by a kangaroo when you were a kid? Because I don't know if you can see my gear here, lady. I'm gay.
Andy's taken. Yes.
The crowd went wild. This is history. The word gay apparently has never been spoken in a wrestling ring on national TV.
Yeah, it wasn't news that he was gay. He was out, and this was clearly, one of these little wrestling stories that's scripted. But the news is that the crowd spontaneously started chanting, "He's gay," in a positive, supportive way.
They can go either way, these people.
Always, but it was just a lovely moment of support and pride in Pride Month.
And they have a lovely new facade at
it actually was from last year, I think, but it was.
They have a lovely new facade at St. Louis's Bar PM. This is the one that was crashed into by the police, right?
Yes.
And they've restored it in spite of city interference. They got brand new windows, a shiny pride flag out there on South Broadway, and lots of activities going on inside.
The city wouldn't pay for the restoration, even though it was the cops who
I hope
crashed
they're suing.
into it. Well, yes, because the city so the bar had to rely on its own insurance, and the city tried to interfere with that. Come on.
Because they're going after cops, and they defend them to the hilt.
It's a big blue wall.
All right, very, very sad story out of Minnesota in Minnetonka. A trans girl was brutally beaten in the restroom of Hopkins High School. The student Cobalt Sovereign had the courage to tell what happened and was backed up by her parents and brother, and we have video.
Here's Cobalt's story.
Last Thursday, Cobalt Sovereign had to go to the bathroom at Hopkins High School.
I was attempting to use the restroom. I actually did not get to until like an hour later at the hospital.
The hospital, where she stayed for 2 days to repair serious injuries. Injuries she got after leaving the bathroom. She left the bathroom because...
In the bathroom, he had looked over the stall directly to where I was attempting to use the bathroom. And that is where he initially called me a in the first place.
The student that allegedly called her that repeated it several times.
I left the bathroom and I got it in myself to confront the kid verbally. He had no reason to have anything against me. I've never talked to him, never done anything negative to him. And I was insulted and then eventually hit in the jaw.
Cobalt's mother said videos shown to her today by police confirm Cobalt's story.
I saw just what she described. She comes out of the bathroom and there's these 3 kids. They're clearly getting to her and around her. And then one of them hits her while she's just standing there, hit her very hard.
I was hit in the jaw. And at the time, one of my teeth exploded and there was pieces of my mouth. My jaw was broken in 2 places, one here and then one here, as you can see by this big bruise right here. As well as this tooth, one of my molars in the top was just shattered. That was the tooth that was in my mouth. Sorry, I'm laughing. I'm just a little nervous right now.
You told me about your physical injuries.
Yeah. Mentally, I did have a few nightmares after the events.
Are you ever scared to use the bathroom?
Less scared, more incredibly uncomfortable. It makes me very uncomfortable to be in the men's bathroom.
And yet she takes on that discomfort because of the world we live in.
I'd rather be uncomfortable than make other people uncomfortable by using the women's bathroom.
And as for her mom, discomfort is just a fact of life as a trans parent. And it resides right next to unabashed joy and gratitude to be Cobalt's trans parent.
Is it hard to have a trans kid?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no, it's great. It's so lucky. We're really all lucky. Everybody's lucky who knows her. It might be hard for the world that I have a trans kid, but it's not hard for me.
For those of you wondering, yes, Hopkins High School does have a gender-inclusive bathroom section, but Cobalt said those are often taken and they're out of the way of the rest of the school, and she just had to go to the bathroom where she had to go. As far as the investigation, police met with Cobalt today to show she and her mom the video of the alleged assault. From there, this case could go to the county attorney for possible charges. As far as the school, they told me the student who was accused of hitting Cobalt faced discipline immediately, that exact day. And the policy at the school is to suspend a student in a fight. In this case, the district told me a suspension would mean that that student is done for the year.
Wow.
And let's be clear, she is a trans girl, and she was using the boys' bathroom as many, many schools in this country would order her to do, as her birth sex. And she says she doesn't want to upset people by using the girls' bathroom. And yet she got assaulted by these guys.
The only upside to this is that we have a picture of it. The students rallied for her outside the school in support of Cobalt.
Well, that's the great thing. And we see this over and over and over again, where most of the students come out in support of these LGBTQ students who get attacked. And I think that is going to ultimately change the world, because those students are going to grow up to go out and run the world, and they're going to have this experience of fighting back against bigotry and discrimination.
But problem in Fort Myers, Florida, a bisexual 19-year-old was almost killed when he was beaten outside a bar restaurant June 1st by a group of strangers shouting homophobic slurs. His name is Michael White. He was there for his birthday celebration. He was attacked while waiting for an Uber outside. They slammed his face into the concrete repeatedly, only regained consciousness in the ICU with brain bleeding and a broken nose, too. It's just horrendous. And,
really horrendous.
We don't have the perpetrators caught there.
Yeah. But a little good news from Brevard, Florida, Seminole County, where the state attorney's office has dropped charges against a gay cop who was arrested in a sex sting in a park there, accused of prostitution or public exposure, along with a few other gay men.
And of course, the big one, the big, lacuna that they got was Harold Mills. We have a picture of him, a prominent business executive and vice chair of the University of Central Florida Board of Trustees. He resigned from the board after these charges were brought, but he fought them. He had good legal representation. And here's how it was, the reason the charges were dropped, because they were charged with exposure of sexual organs and soliciting lewdness. I don't know how you have sex without soliciting lewdness. But anyway, the state's attorney said they exposed themselves seated in cars where no one but the officer undercover could see them, and that is not public lewdness.
In New York City, the New York Police Department internal affairs official pressured a male lieutenant on the force not to file a sexual harassment claim against a senior mayoral advisor.
This is Tim Pearson?
Yeah, would have been the fifth to file a complaint against this guy. The internal affairs official yelled and pounded a table with his fist to tell the guy not to file a complaint. And others who have filed have been retaliated against.
Our mayor, Adams, is surrounded by rogues.
And the Washington Post has a story saying hundreds of young people have been assaulted by police officers in the last, 20 years.
Sexually
assaulted. Without consequences for the police officers.
Terrible.
Yeah.
In Whitehall, Ohio, crews had to stop brightening up the rainbow crosswalks when bystanders started cursing them out and threw garbage at them. It became unsafe for them, but the city is still going ahead with celebrating Pride.
And in Spokane, Washington, Rainbow Crosswalk was also vandalized This is happening all around. And where's the
Newburgh, Oregon? The library displayed rainbow flags in the window, and it was shot at with a pellet gun. A juvenile was arrested. They've had a pride display there since 2019. In 2021, the Newburgh School Board banned pride flags and other what they called political symbols in schools, but that was later rescinded.
And the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, who is sometimes an ally and sometimes not, would not declare Pride Month. Instead, he declared the month of bridge building.
Well, at least he didn't declare Shame Month. And California were now pretty hopeful about the referenda to make same-sex marriage protected in the Constitution after it was banned in 2008 by the voters. Reports are that the evangelical groups that mobilized in 08 are just not doing it now. They see it as a bad investment of time and money.
But the case continues about the lifeguard, the Christian lifeguard, who doesn't want to go anywhere near a pride flag.
There he is.
Yeah.
What's his name? Jeffrey Little. He filed a suit for a religious exemption, and his employer is the fire department, and they assured him he won't be held responsible. You don't have to raise or lower the flag in June. His lawyers from the anti-gay Thomas More Society say that's not enough. We want a perpetual standing exemption for him. The department still requires his coworkers to fly the flags.
You know, the confusion about
well, look at their lifeguard stand.
Yes.
Did you show that?
Yeah,
there it is in the background there.
Yeah, what's he going to do about that?
Colored with rainbows.
Yeah.
But the rainbow, my God, that's a symbol that God gave you, that he was going to protect you.
It's the Wizard of Oz.
What can you possibly object to? We
don't
own the rainbow.
This is all just drumming stuff up to screw us in every way they can. None of it makes sense. And this whole thing about religious freedom versus separation of church and state, where do you draw the line? Crazy.
Well, in Massachusetts.
Wait, I want to stay in California for a second. In Temecula, the voters have recalled the homophobic president of the school board. Thank you.
Temecula was an outlier there in California.
A special election.
Doing all these anti-gay things. And can I go to Massachusetts?
Well, I'll tell you first that LA had a huge pride parade, and it was very political.
But it was not the first.
Oh,
all right.
But Huntington, Long Island had its biggest ever Long Island Pride Parade.
I think that's because people, because of the times, are turning out more for these things.
Yeah. In
Massachusetts, a middle schooler, we have a picture of him, who wore a T-shirt reading, "There are only two genders," and was told he could not, has lost his suit against the school in Middleborough. The First Circuit Court of Appeals said the 7th grader, Liam Morrison, was legitimately disciplined by the school, which was trying to protect LGBTQ students from harassment. The chief judge said his message could be interpreted as that male and female were the only two valid genders. He was represented by Alliance Defending Freedom. He says his religious freedom and his free speech rights are being violated. And if he prevails, kids, of course, can start wearing T-shirts quoting the Bible. In Christ, there is neither male nor female.
Well, you know,
that's the one I'd put on.
I'm uncomfortable with these with schools being put in the position of censoring things.
No, but
you're supposed to draw the line at where it would provoke unrest of some sort.
And sure. You know, I mean, what if he wants to wear a T-shirt saying, you know, your God is no good and mine is the right one? I mean, that kind of stuff.
I would just laugh at him. In Houston, a park ranger has been arrested because he grabbed some gay guy, threatened him, robbed him, forced him to lure other men for sex. It's this whole big crazy thing in Houston.
All right.
Do we want to discuss the investment banker who slugged a woman at Brooklyn Pride?
We don't know exactly what happened. It's a horrifying video of this guy slugging this woman after the march. We don't know if it was over a Palestinian demonstration. We just don't know because she hasn't come forward to press charges against him, but she got clocked by this guy.
A couple of other things before we get to our obituaries.
And there was no excuse for what he did.
Trans man in Missouri won a 10-year case. That's how long it took him to use the men's bathroom got $4.7 million.
Wow.
Congratulations to him. I hope he
Wow.
gets paid.
Wow.
And in Coconut Creek, Florida, at Monarch High, there's a whole thing about a woman who was an employee at the high school who got fired because she has a trans son. Am I right about that? Yes, who's a student athlete, a trans girl daughter, who she didn't inform the school that she was competing as a girl, as a trans girl on the sports teams. And so the committee that looked into this recommended a 10-day suspension, but the school instead fired her, the mom. The students are out protesting for the mom and the girl. The Monarch principal knew she was trans, but thought she was a biological girl and said he was waiting for her to become a boy.
Can't we all get along?
Crazy. All right, on to those we've lost.
Well, a groundbreaking journalist, T.D. Allman, has died at 79, survived by his longtime male partner, Chong Jong-soo. Back in 1970, he exposed the secret U.S. war in Laos as the Vietnam War raged, also in Cambodia, known for his strong opinions and prodigal ways with expense accounts, but covered world leaders like Arafat, Gaddafi, Yeltsin.
Look, he blew the whistle on the bombing of Laos and Cambodia.
Yes, unbelievable. And his books on Florida looked beyond the myths about the state to its massacres of native peoples and white supremacy and sleazy land grabs. Known for a foppish screwball persona, but reported from more than 80 countries, uncovering their dark corners.
He was at the Tiananmen Square protests in 1989. He was, I was in college and graduated in 1970 when the news broke about the bombing of Laos and Cambodia, and all colleges all over the country went on strike, and the students were killed at Kent State by the National Guard protesting this. You cannot imagine how enormous it was.
Sure.
And the fact that he's the one who blew the whistle is just mind-blowing to me. Okay. Anyway, so what a great, great guy.
Tell us about Lynn Conway.
Lynn Conway just died at 86 in Jackson, Michigan. She was a trans woman out very early, so early that she was an engineer working for IBM. She was credited with revolutionizing microchip electronics and making modern computers possible. She was fired by IBM when she announced that she was transitioning in 1968. In 2020, they apologized to her. 2020, and gave her credit for her revolutionary work.
And back pay?
Not that I know of. She leaves her husband, Charles Rogers. By the way, did we mention T.D. Allman's partner?
Yes, we did.
Okay. But Lynn Conway, a revolutionary computer engineer, fired by IBM.
And in Queens, New York, you talked about the Queens Pride Parade, but one of the leaders of that parade for 30 years, Hank Krumholtz, has died at the age of 73. Here he's pictured. He's the second one from the left. That's Hank with the other organizers of the parade, including Danny Drum. Hank was one of those indefatigable volunteers who did the grunt work that makes these things, these prides and festivals, come off each year. He secured the first ever, we have another picture of him, the first ever lesbian and gay postal cancellation from the United States Post Office.
He worked for the post office. Yeah. He got them to come to the Queen's Pride Parade, where they set up one of these cancellation booths where you can take a letter and you can have your stamp canceled with a particular slogan.
This is 1995. This is only the second year of that parade.
Yep.
All right.
So he was a great guy. International news. The Pope's at it again.
Well, I mean, he's 87. And he's losing it. And I'm just going to say it. The last time he said seminaries were full of faggotry. This time he met with some Roman priests and said there was an air of faggotness in the Vatican. Well, I mean, there's a lot of gay people there, but that's not a nice word. Holy Father.
Well, he supposedly apologized for it a few weeks ago.
No,
when
the
he was
Vatican
first-
apologized.
Well, but they quoted him, I think, as apologizing. But now we wonder whether he ever knew about the apology or endorsed it, because he said the same thing all over again.
And he said again, it was better that young men with a homosexual tendency not be allowed into the seminary. And that's just bigotry.
Yep.
The church could not function without homosexually oriented men, and it is dying without leadership roles for women.
Yep.
And this is where Mrs. Alito should raise her shame flag.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Qatar.
Yeah, a gay British Mexican man was arrested in a honey trap sting using Grindr there, and was given a
6-month suspended sentence and deported.
Yes, Manuel Guerrero Avina, 44. He was found guilty of being in possession of an illegal substance and fined 2,100 pounds. His family says drugs were planted because he's gay, and he may appeal, but prosecutors also have 30 days to appeal, and he can't leave the country until they get through with that period.
And yet they want to deport him. He's an airline employee. He was deprived of his HIV medicine.
42 days in a detention center.
And forced to sign a confession that was in Arabic that he couldn't read.
It's just outrageous.
Yeah.
By the way, the EU elections did not go well for us. I mean, the center held, but just barely.
Yeah.
And in France, they've called the snap election, and the right wing could take over there. And this is Macron. The prime minister is gay, Attal, and he didn't even know that Macron was going to call for this, and he's on the spot. So God knows what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
It's desperation time. And in the UK, the election is July the 4th. The Conservatives have been in power for 14 years, way behind in the polls. So Rishi Sunak, we got a picture, he's there on the left, is looking to, the U.S. For clues on how to handle transgender issues. And he's making a disgusting last-minute effort, pledging to exclude trans people from single-sex spaces and rewrite the Equality Act to make sex mean biological sex. They were doing pretty well. Even the Conservative Party was doing well. And now they're just backtracking on all of it.
But meanwhile...
And by the way, Keir Starmer isn't so great on these things.
It's all relatives, as an ex of mine used to say. And the Olympics are starting pretty soon in Paris. Half the U.S. women's basketball team of 12 are out lesbians. And
half, including Brittany Griner.
Yeah, we know about her. And 2 of the coaches. It's going to be a very lesbianic basketball team.
How else could they win?
And, Caitlin Clark's not on the team, but she's only been a pro for a few weeks. It would be...
Does the Nassau County executive think it's okay for straight women to have to shower with lesbians?
Luckily, he has no part in that.
All right.
Health news, AIDS news.
Okay.
In Lakeland, Florida, they are opening a new Rose Dynasty Center, Polk County, Central Florida, and run by Pineapple Healthcare. It'll provide primary care, HIV care, PrEP and PEP, STI testing and treatment, mental health care, and Botox.
Show the picture of the opening, because this was the brainchild of Jason DeShazo, 45, better known as Mama Ashley Rose, there in drag, and Ethan Suarez, the president of the Pineapple Healthcare. So, Jason founded the whole Rose Dynasty idea to help gay youth in 2017, and now this has been Rose's dream to bring a community center to
very
Lakeland.
Conservative Central Florida, and they said that they were not going to provide trans care because it's illegal in Florida, but now with this judge's ruling, maybe that will change.
Yes.
And in New York City, NYU has reported the first case seen in the United States of a sexually transmitted fungal ringworm.
Ugh. There's the picture.
There it is. So leave that up for a second. People can check their own bodies.
It's caused by a fungus at a time when clinicians worldwide say it's becoming increasingly difficult to treat fungal infections due to antibacterial resistance.
This one was found in a gay man who had had lots of sex with men in England, Greece, and California. It's a red, itchy rash.
On the legs and across his groin and buttocks.
Took 4.5 months to cure with oral antifungals. Not life-threatening, but permanently scarring.
France had 13 cases last year. 12 were men who have sex with men. Yes, it took a long time to cure. The HIV drug lenacapavir, 2 injections a year, only available in a handful of wealthy countries. It costs $42,000 plus in the United States, though that goes down to $37,000 in the subsequent years. So now a Nobel scientist who helped discover HIV, Françoise Barré-Sinoussi, and 300 others, including people with HIV and celebrities like Sharon Stone, they're all saying, don't make the same mistake you made the first time around with AIDS drugs. Get this to where it's needed now at an affordable price. And Gilead is like, oh, yeah, we're certainly looking at that and blah, blah, blah.
Back to the streets. All right, entertainment news?
Yes, okay, fine. I'm just looking at what else I have. I have another AIDS story, but it's all right.
Okay, I'm open. If you want to do the other
we talk about racial health disparities. The ACA, which Republicans have pledged to kill if they take back power in November, has reduced the percentage of uninsured Black Americans from 30% in 2010 to 11% in 2022. Right. Similar drops for Asian Americans, Latin Americans, Native Americans. 45 million Americans are enrolled under the ACA, and the Republicans are telling you they're going to get rid of it if you give them power. Don't do it.
When Trump was convicted, I watched Stephanie Rule every night on MSNBC with the
11 o'clock.
Yes,
11th
exactly. She's a little wacky, but she's smart. So she said the minute Trump was convicted, she started calling around to all the rich Republicans she knew. And they said that it was all about these donations to Trump, which she said in the first place were all pre-planned. It wasn't like everyone suddenly came out of the woods to give him money. That was all a put-up job. But she said the rich Republicans are giving him money because now he's weak and they can be more powerful if he gets elected.
That's what they said about somebody in Germany in the 30s.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, I thought that was an interesting.
The power brokers thought they could control that guy.
Yes.
You can't.
That's a good point.
I mean, don't forget, Trump keeps getting interviewed about what he's going to do and how he's going to get revenge, and all these interviewers from Fox and everything. You don't really mean that, right? Yeah. Oh, yes, I do.
Dr. Phil.
Oh, yes, I do.
It's so much better to, get right than get even. And he says, no, it's going to take a while, but I will.
All right, entertainment news.
Yeah.
I don't watch Doctor Who, but maybe I should start. And Nkuti Gatwa is the first Black and gay actor to play Doctor Who on the long-running BBC sci-fi series, which is available here. He came out back in September and is a vocal critic of politicians who scapegoat trans people. In the latest episode of Doctor Who, he gets to share a passionate kiss with Jonathan Groff's mysterious character, Rogue. I won't try to explain the time-traveling plot, but it's billed as the first fully fledged gay male romance on the show, though when David Tennant played the role, he came back from an encounter with Isaac Newton and said that he had a hot time. And Newton was gay. And the series streams on Disney Plus internationally and on BBC iPlayer. It's produced by Russell Davies, the Outgate producer who did the original Queer as Folk, and it's a sin.
Okay, well, I'll take a little turn to a much trashier UK connected show, Traitors.
Oh, right.
Season 3 is coming along pretty soon. Alan Cumming hosts that at a castle in Scotland, and it has a really large, not entirely, but some major LGBTQ players. Bob the Drag Queen is going to be on. Chriselle Staus from Selling Sunset. Peppermint had a terrible time on season 2 and got eliminated the first night. And that was all bigotry by the other contestants. But they're going to have people from The Housewives and The Bachelorette and Survivor, and Lord Ivor Mountbatten, cousin of King Charles.
Cousin of the Queen, at least I remember. So probably Charles too. They're all related over there.
So Traitors
everybody's
3,
in the line of succession somewhere.
If you haven't watched Traitors, season 1 is not much to write home about, but season 2 was hot. So Peacock, I think. So if you want to catch up on that before season 3 starts, which will alert you to when it comes along.
I want to alert you to a photo exhibit called Queer Religion by photographer Francis Marshall from the UK that you can view online, and we will connect to it. Here's just a couple of these pictures. That's a trans minister, and then our friend Bernard Lynch from London. It's going to be at the St. John the Divine on display in June, the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. She's an atheist who wanted to focus on people trying to create positive change in anti-LGBTQ religions.
There was a photographer on Morning Joe this morning who has a new book and exhibit about trans people on Christopher Street like 10 years ago, documenting the community. The exhibit is about to open at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston.
Well, then.
Okay.
They have room there. That's where the old masters were stolen. Or
yes,
whatever.
exactly.
Yes. All right.
Still unexpected. All right. Coming soon, Kristen Stewart as Sally Ride.
Well, 2026 is when it's coming.
Nah, I know, not soon enough, but whatever. It's going to be Kristen's first TV series. That's her on the left, of course, in a pretty sexy pose, and Sally Ride in the inset. Kira Sedgwick is the executive producer of this and has Spielberg's company producing it, which gives me pause since he screwed up The Color Purple so much.
Well, that's a long time ago.
Yes, it is. But
when attitudes towards gay people were not great.
So this is a series called The Challenger, and it's about the rocket that blew up and killed everyone. Sally Ride was the only actual astronaut on the commission investigating the explosion. So I think
of course, was the first woman in space in 1983.
Well, I just hope we see her lesbian home life in addition to that.
The former country singer, Maren Morris, has come out publicly as bisexual. She'd been a strong advocate for the LGBTQ community before this. She recently divorced her husband, posted on Instagram, happy to be the B in LGBTQ. She'd been a drag race judge, and she was the first country singer to get GLAAD's Excellence in Media Award.
She got in trouble at first with the country crowd by performing in Tennessee and bringing on drag queens to her show when Tennessee was trying to ban drag.
She has left country music over its racism and homophobia.
And bigotry. So welcome to the community, Maren. We're happy to have you.
And Anne, I want you to talk about your friend who's coming to Broadway.
I wish he were my friend, or they. I think they're using non-binary pronouns at the moment. Cola Scola in Oh Mary. I laugh every time I see this picture. That is Cole on the right as Mary Todd Lincoln.
And their gay husband.
Abraham. Just won the Off-Broadway Award at the Drama Desk Awards. And the Drama Desk described this as a gay fantasia on national themes.
Which is the subtitle of Angels in America.
Yes, but in fact it is a gay fantasia on national themes.
And we are seeing it on
July 8th.
Okay.
I've seen it already off Broadway, but I can't wait to see whether it works on Broadway.
So we'll be there on Monday, July 8th.
And you can go see Cola Scola in Oh Mary, and we are going to be out in a few seconds. We wish you continuing happy Pride Month.
See you next Tuesday if you're watching live.
Yes. Okay. See you then. Bye.